Hello, hello, hello. Live from Denver. It is Friday night. Hey, everybody. Let us make sure we are all good in the hood here. Yes. All right. We are back. Welcome to Critical Conversations for April 14th in the year of our Lord 2023. And as you can see, I am joined by my beautiful wife, Melissa, this week. Always love it when she is here with us. Boy, we were down for the count.
Yes,
Holy shit, was it bad. Man, we were sick as dogs last week. It was bad. I was on my back. Ugh. And we're back. Yes, let's get critical, critics. So happy to see you guys here joining us live. I have missed this. When we miss a weekend, when I miss a week, I feel like something's missing in my life. Seriously, this brings me so much joy and happiness to be able to talk to you guys and impart information and help people, hopefully with this and just generally have a good time. So thanks for joining us. Oh, and hello, England. And I even see Alex in the chat. And wow, it's awesome. Awesome. So welcome to this show. So let's go ahead and kick things off as we are wont to do, as usual here with, did you have any commentary you wanted to throw down before you gave your quote of the week here? Totally put her on the spot.
I've been sick the last 2 weeks, so I haven't really had a lot happen in my life. I mean, other than going to the doctor, that's about.
Yeah, we were both at urgent care. Yeah.
Ooh, and I went to the grocery store. Yeah.
Yeah, exciting times to be sure. It's bad when I'm going to urgent care because that just doesn't happen.
Never get sick.
No, and it just doesn't. I got some steroids and some meds, and she got some meds, and yeah, ooh. Poe, exactly. We got Clearwater Chad and Poe on the go here as well. Welcome, boys. Always happy to have you guys on board here. So do you want to share your quote of the week here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As always, Mel has a nice quote for us. What do you got?
This one is sort of about seeing where you stand and fakeness and that kind of thing. So stop texting first and see how many dead plants you've been watering. That is
an interesting go. And of course, the idea being stop communicating to your peeps and see how many of them are actually your peeps.
Right. So who cares? Yeah.
Oh, is your mic not?
Do you guys hear me or no? Do I need to read that again? Okay. Can you hear me now?
Interesting.
Okay, let me try again.
Okay.
Stop texting first and see how many dead plants you've been watering.
Oh, okay, good. I just needed to pump your volume up a little bit, it looks like.
Pump up the volume.
Yeah, big time. Okay, let's definitely get that. Because I try to level it where hers is louder, so I don't know why it was set the other way this time. Okay, good. Actually, that's kind of a funny quote. She came up with that. And then I had, I'm on Twitter a lot, probably way more than I should be. And in fact, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about some Reddit adventures this week. But I tweeted about how I was just kind of annoyed. It was just in the moments of annoyance. I was like, isn't it annoying when you text somebody and they don't respond to you after hours or even days?
Yeah, sometimes weeks.
Right? And I was and I was kind of like, I think the mailman is here and Benson has gone running out. So you gonna go take care of that? Or you got popped out. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. One moment, please.
Technical difficulties because the dog is losing his mind. He hates the mailman or loves him, I'm not sure, but he barks. How about now?
Yeah, the dog ate the sound. Exactly.
Pretty much.
All right, we're back. Yes, texting. So let me see if I can finish this story.
Here we go.
The thing that was interesting to me about that story was that I don't get lots and lots and lots of engagement on Twitter. I have a little tiny account, a few thousand followers, no big deal. And yet, when I tweet the most innocuous, stupid, annoying stuff, that's when I get the most engagement. I even got DMs from people telling me how entitled and off the rails I was for daring to think that my communications to my friends and family, which I think I had put in the original tweet, were so important that they needed to drop everything to communicate to me immediately, which is not what I said. I said after hours or even days.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, it's these little things and they just get blown out, and people on social media just have to take the most extreme examples or interpretations of your communications, which leads me to my next thing. I'm no longer on Reddit. Today, I deleted my account. I am done with Reddit as a platform. I am sick and tired of that place. I have been, I've seen enough echo chamber effects on that platform that I was starting to think there's something seriously wrong with Reddit. And then I just had enough negative engagements, and there's a cults subreddit which I was part of, or which I was contributing to, and some guy decided to come on and criticize all content creators on any platform who create content about cults because of our unscientific stance and the fact that we don't cite the science enough.
What?
And that, and of course, there's valid criticism there in terms of there is social science. You guys see me talk about it all the time, but not all content creators do. Totally understood. There's a lot of anecdotal information, a lot of testimonials, a lot of stories, in other words, from people out there about cults and their experiences with cults, and that tends to be a lot of what occupies the cult space, or the cultosphere, or the cult universe, the cultiverse, if you will. And that's fine. Those are very necessary. All those anecdotes, all those stories, all the the takedowns and all that is very, very, very important, because if you can't connect humanly and emotionally with these stories and with the abusive nonsense that goes on in these groups, then it's all kind of ivory towerish, and we're just talking about, weird sciencey stuff. But as you know, on my channel and some other channels, we like to go deeper. We like to look into this, and even some of us have even gotten in degrees and that kind of stuff. So I responded to this person making this long-winded post about how unscientific and how ridiculous so many content creators were about this. And I said, look, basically your criticisms are fine, but you're coming off a little rough, and you're talking about a trauma community here, and maybe you could tone it down a little bit, or perhaps if you're coming from a science background, maybe you could do something about this, right? And of course, no, none of that. And it just got real ugly. And I just hate it. I hate it when things get so ugly so fast. But what I really hate, and this pushes my personal buttons, and I will own that this is a character flaw on my part, perhaps, and I'll own that. But I really can't stand it when people take a valid criticism, I believe, of a criticism of mine, and turn it so I'm the bad guy for even making that criticism. And that just proves, and then you lose your mind. Then you're like, ah, and then see, right? You're the one who never, who's off the rails here. I hate that trolling gamemanship crap that goes on. I hate those kind of interactions. I hate doing that. I hate falling for it. I hate falling into it. I hate letting my temper get the better of me. So I just was like, okay, I'm hitting the eject button. I'm out of here. I am done with this. I do not need this in my life. It consumes too much of my time for way too little return on investment. There are things I could be doing that are definitely more worth my valuable time. So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to sort of throw out there. So you will no longer see me on Reddit. My account is deleted. That means I believe that all the content that I've ever put up there, notes or comments or whatever, it's all gone. That's fine with me. I just don't need that kind of grief in my life. Excuse me if I cough from time to time here. If either of us do, as we're still recovering. Almost 2 weeks now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's been 2 weeks for me, 2.5, almost 3. And I mean, we're coughing now, but you should have heard us like a week or 2 ago. I mean,
yeah, it was bad.
We sounded like beach seals or something.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I thought she was going to cough up a lung. It was bad.
I did too, yeah.
Yeah, we were a little concerned. Okay, so let's do some Benson cam because we do have some. And this is, here's our little snuggles, not struggles cam.
He had just had a bath.
We did not speed this up. This is Benson after a bath. And he just goes wild. And you can see another angle of our living room here. He's just losing his mind.
He always does this after a bath.
Yeah, always.
Gets nuts.
And Mel thought to get it on camera this time, which was awesome. So you can see him just... He's a little wet there, a little damp, a little moist.
Oh, my God.
And he does. He goes in circles. He's just this little snippy. He just goes crazy after a bath. He is so funny. But there's our little bundle of joy having his way there on our couch. Yeah. Yeah, there's that. That's So you can see sometimes he's not, sometimes we get cam of him and he is completely chill and he's just sitting there. And other times it's like that. So, so exactly. I wish I had that much energy these days too.
I know.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, exactly. He's probably trying to dry himself off. Mm-hmm. That's what getting out of coercive control looks like. Exactly, Debbie. You nailed it. Yes, celebration. All right. So we have, so in addition to, so we've kind of done the Reddit thing. So let's go ahead and talk about topic of the show this week. Now, I made some notes, but I did not do a full monologue or anything here. It's going to be off the top of my head. This is, now speaking of science, these are ideas that I'm having right now. These are not like, bound in science, totally nailed. This is exactly how it is. But I'm wondering if this is how it is. And I'm sort of thinking this is how it is. And I wanted to throw this out there and give you guys some ideas about something I think will be probably the subject of further research on my part. I started getting some help this week in downloading some academic papers. I'm still trying to sort out my access to the literature again through Salford, and that's a very slow process. Academic institutions are the worst bureaucracies. And so I've got this research assistant position that has been sort of granted to me, but I don't have the log on, and trying to get it across the pond is just a nightmare. It's just been months and months. So I reached out to some people who have been helping me with doing some academic research, and they've been getting me some papers, and I've been looking into the ties between, well, let's go ahead and take a look. Let me walk through this a little bit. We're wondering what is it about, 10 years now I've been trying to figure out why do people think the way they do? Why do they act the way they do? Why do they go into extreme headspaces? Why does that happen? What is it about us that makes us, that draws us like magnets to crazy and to not just stupid ideas or crazy ideas, but headspaces where we will double, triple, quadruple down. Mm-hmm. Where we will absolutely die on these hills of ridiculousness. And not just ludicrous ideas, but abusive ideas, destructive ideas, things that actually impact people's lives in incredibly negative ways. What is it about us that draws us to that and makes us do that? That's a question I've had for 10 years. And, you know, and I'm far from the only person who's had this question or wondered about this. And there's lots of various things you can look at out there as to why people act the way they do. I think people take very limited views of this. I try to take a very broad, very expansive view. I often challenge myself with, okay, if this is true for somebody in the, you know, in Denver or in Pennsylvania, is it also true for somebody in the middle of Ethiopia or in the middle of Mongolia or in the middle of the Philippines, right? Does the same principles apply to all human beings? And these are questions that are that's a tough question when you actually look at how surveying and how research is done. It's very localized most of the time. So you'll get very interesting results, but they're mostly results on college students because those are the most immediately available research body to do studies on. And a lot of research is done through universities. So a lot of the things we think, well, they're accurate for that class of people, but what about these other classes of people? Or what about other cultures or other countries or, you know, this kind of thing?
I mean, I'd say looking at some of the religiosity of other cultures and countries, that definitely the extreme thinking stuff is probably a human condition, not just an area or culture condition, I would think.
Well, that's how I think about it. Yeah. Exactly. Is I'm looking at all human behavior. And so, you know, you look at the Chinese, you look at the North Koreans, and you see, you know, just as much vulnerability and susceptibility to bad ideas and authoritarian control in those cultures, which are radically different cultures from the American Western culture.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, well, it seems to me that there's some common denominators here. There's some points we can look at and break down in terms of the human condition or the human existence. And why do we fall for cults? Why do we stay in cults? That's really what I'm talking about. When I talk about extreme headspaces and, you know, extremism and radicalization stuff, we're talking about cults. Talking about Scientology. Scientology is a great case study for this. Wonderful way of looking at, you know, through that lens, we can look at this behavior. So what drives behavior? And a lot of people will tell you, and they will die on this hill, that it is facts, it's evidence, it's reason. It's, you know, it's having good reasons for things is why we do what we do. We logic our way through life, and we have an emotional side and we have a logical side, or, you know, a critical thinking side, and we, you know, and we really put the coals on and really, you know, put our brainiac cap on, and we can think our way through anything, you know. And I you know, used to subscribe to that point of view, which is why I'm very familiar with it. And I still believe that is there are three pillars we're going to kind of talk about tonight, or three dimensions of thinking, and that's one of them. Facts, evidence, reason, the frontal lobes, calculation, figuring things out, reasoning things. That is absolutely a factor in our behavior. We do things because we logic our way into them, or we need to. Oh, Stephanie, hey, hi, Steph. Okay, exactly, right? Motivated reasoning, we can reason our way into things, and then we can reason our way into staying in that headspace, even despite counter information or other information that comes our way. Or reversely, we can be incredibly good at ignoring information that contradicts the facts that we cling to so strongly, right? We have fact A and fact B. You know, L. Ron Hubbard, brilliant researcher, brilliant philosopher. That's a fact to me as a Scientologist. Used to be, right? Absolutely true. So true that if it's contradicted by another piece of information, I can safely ignore it. Nah, absolutely not. Right? I'll either ignore it, or I will come up with some other counter reason to nullify or void that contradictory information. Like, L. Ron Hubbard failed out of university. L. Ron Hubbard lied about every aspect of his life. L. Ron Hubbard really didn't have a philosophical bone in his body. Please show me where there's any philosophy here, right? Like actual legit philosophy or reasoning or science even, right? L. Ron Hubbard was a scientist. Really? Really? Well, that's a hill I would have died on 12 years ago. Absolutely. Absolutely would have. So that's the fact end of things, the reasoning side of things. And it's a very, very important part of our existence. We would not have any of the wondrous things. I would never be able to talk to you on a camera, through a live stream on YouTube and all this stuff if we couldn't logic and reason our way through life and figure things out. And sort of the ultimate expression of that is the scientific method. And what we have experienced through what we call the Age of Reason or the Enlightenment, and all the goodies that come with that. The philosophy for the common man, and critical thinking, and rights, and reason, and structures of our society that allow for democracies and republics, and the common people can have a say in their fate and in the fate of the country and that kind of thing. All of that comes out of the Age of Reason and Enlightenment. And without any of that, we're a bunch of baboons, throwing shit at each other. I mean, it's kind of like that. So that's a very important pillar or dimension of our behavior, but it's not anywhere near all of it. And you guys have heard me talk about emotional needs, which is the second thing. Now, I really went on a roll on that, and I'm still on a roll on that, and I am absolutely convinced that I am right about the importance of emotional needs and fulfilling those needs to our entire existence as human beings. It is absolutely imperative, and we will die and kill to fulfill our own emotional needs. That is where so much justification for all the good and all the bad that we engage in comes from. Right? And when we talk about emotional needs, it's a short list. We can list it out. You can categorize emotions and emotional needs in lots of different ways. Lots of people do. I happen to like these 9. There's, you can break it down to 4. You can break it down to 5. There's lots of models. Just like there are a lot of models of how cults work. There's a bite model. There's an intensely complicated mathematical model. There's other models. There's Evan Stark's sort of coercive control model. There's a lot of different ways you can look at what high control authoritarian groups are about and how they're structured. Same thing with emotions. You can break down our emotions and our emotional needs in lots of different ways. The basic concepts of this, I believe, come out of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you have your basal, sort of food and shelter and those kind of things, your basic raw survival kind of things at the beginning, at the bottom or base of that pyramid. And as you move up, eventually you get to self-actualization at the top, which is a very, personal, spiritual or psychological thing. So out of that, we can kind of model or break down emotional needs. And what are that? What are those? What does that mean? It's not this. Emotional needs are not emotions, anger, fear, grief, antagonistic attitudes, schadenfreude. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can talk about emotions, the reactions that we have to life or to inner conflict or inner circumstances or stimulus. Basically, that's what emotions are, right? They're a physiological and psychological response to stimuli, both internal and external. That's a great way of describing what an emotion is. It's not necessarily a conclusive, all-around, totally workable definition, but it serves our purposes. But emotional needs are those things that if we don't have fulfilled in our lives in some significant, substantial way, we feel something's missing. There's void. There's a vacuum. There's something not right with our life. Mm-hmm. Every single person manifests various categories of emotional needs, but how you manifest them is different. Your needs might be different from my needs, even if I can categorize them the same. In other words, security, volition, attention, emotional connection, community, privacy, sense of self, achievement, and meaning. That's 9 categories of emotional needs. What gives you meaning is going to be different than what gives me meaning, even in a relationship.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right?
Well, I was gonna say with security, like for me, that's health insurance, baby, because I have both mental and physical conditions that require that, and
that's right.
I never feel secure if I don't feel like I can get access to the medication that I need. Or the doctors that I need, Exactly. That's my sense of security.
That's right. And for me, I start feeling very unhinged, very unstable if I don't have a roof over my head, if I don't have my rent paid, if I don't have a vehicle or access to transportation, and if I don't have a source of food. Basic needs, Maslow's hierarchy, right? If you don't have those basic needs, the rest of it is pretty insignificant.
Yeah.
So we want to have those needs filled. And again, how you fill those, what fills those for you is ancillary in my point today to the fact that you have them, and that understanding that you have them, understanding how your life revolves around fulfilling them can bring an awful lot of clarity to what makes you happy, what makes you feel fulfilled, and how do you achieve that? Is it money? I don't really think so. I was thinking about this the other day, and money is not about happiness. Money is about well-being. Money is about a peace of mind.
Well, it's like I forget what the exact number was, but it's like you get happier up to a certain level of income, and then it just cuts off because you have all your needs met and some.
Yep.
But then when it's just like extra, it doesn't make you any more happy. You need these other things to make you happy, like meaning and stuff.
Well, exactly. And you'll find with people who have lots and lots of money that they start fulfilling these needs in different ways, because one of the needs we have is meaning. We have to have some meaning in our life. And if all your life is directed toward the bare bones survival of your life, and then suddenly that's not a problem anymore and that's fulfilled, well, now you have a whole nother meaning that you're going to have to develop. And that's why you'll find at every single socioeconomic level, these things are still applicable. They still apply 100%. Very, very rich people are unhappy to the degree they're not fulfilling these needs, just like you and me. And I say you and me. I don't know who's watching this,
they can just afford better drugs.
Yeah, I'm not in the very rich category, right? Okay. Well,
okay.
Pursue that in a little bit.
I bet it's a little more than 75,000 now, just because the cost of everything is so freaking much.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. JR, I was looking at JR's disagreement there, but I wasn't quite sure what the point there was. If you want to clarify that, I'm totally fine on hearing some disagreement with this. But this is sort of my take on emotional needs, right? In a kind of a nutshell, is like, what are we talking about there? And obviously, if all of this is that I'm saying is true, and I think that it is, then this is obviously going to drive an awful lot of our behavior. It's going to make us do things or try to do things or want to do things in order to fulfill these needs. And it's my contention that this is not just as strong a sort of dimension as the rational, critical thinking, reasoning part. I believe at this point, having studied everything that I've studied, that this is actually a primary, a senior driver of our behavior. If it's a choice between, and here's why. If it's a choice between a fact and an emotionally comforting idea, you know as well as I do that people are going to choose the emotionally comforting idea almost 100% of the time. I won't say 100%. almost 100% of the time. And this is where, religious feuds come from, ideological feuds. The entire divide we're experiencing these days is not about rational thinking.
No.
It's not about critically thinking our way into these divisions. It's emotional. It's all based on emotion. Now, there's a third dimension, which we'll also get to, which is the one that I've never really talked about before, which I wanted to throw out today. But I wanted to really kind of harp on this emotional stuff because it's such a powerful component of our behavior. And it's what sticks people in these cults. It's what sticks people in an extreme headspace. They get there through emotionally being driven to it. And then the facts and the evidence and the reasoning are motivated to keep them there. That's motivated reasoning, right? You use your logic and your reason to stay in this emotionally satisfying place. And it is emotionally satisfying to be on an extreme end of a spectrum. I can tell you that from personal experience. It's very satisfying because of this other component. Oh, sure, JR. Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, thank you, Alex. Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's not that the hierarchy of needs is not about fulfilling all this and then you can get to the top. But if your bottom levels aren't filled, it's going to bring everything down, right? It's very hard to be very, super self-actualized while you're starving. And I have been starving in the Sea Org. And the last thing I was thinking about when I was starving was being OT. And I don't know if that's the point you're making, but that's just a thought I had in response to that. So these emotional needs, super, super, super important. And I believe senior to our rationality. If I had to put them in a sequence or an order of priority or importance, we are emotional creatures way before we are rational creatures. It's not an even balance.
Oh, no way.
It's not. It's just not. I used to think it was.
I wish it was.
I did too. Me too, right? I wish we could Mr. Spock our way through life.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And kudos to Gene Roddenberry for breaking down that triumvirate in Star Trek of logic versus emotion versus, a balance. That's kind of an important point, and a very valid one. But it's not really, in all practical purposes, it doesn't really work that way. And the reason why I can say that so assuredly is because empirically, just look at how people use facts and reason and evidence to justify their positions, however untenable and even stupid those positions can be. And I can give you all, laundry lists of examples out of religion, out of politics, out of sports. People lose their damn minds. Why? Is it because their facts are off? Not really. It's because their emotional needs have got to be fulfilled, and this is the path that they're choosing to do it. But what's the third component? Why do people choose so heavily to invest so much of themselves? And this wraps up into identity too, by the way. And there's a whole psychological thing about identity and personality and that kind of thing. But we're not going to necessarily go there today on that. But why that strong emotional investment? What would cause somebody or urge somebody to do that? Well, we can talk about recruitment tactics. We can talk about manipulation and deception, and that's one way of approaching it. But I wanted to talk about it at a more basic level, and that has to do with third dimension, which is morality. So you got reasoning or logic or critical thinking, you've got emotional needs, and you got morals. And morals are very, very different from emotions and emotional needs and from logic and reason. A lot of people think, and this is, I'm not trying to make a new triangle or something. That didn't even occur to me till just a second. But morals are crucial to this equation. Absolutely crucial. And what do I mean by morals? We do not have to go down utilitarian ethics frameworks or epistemological frameworks or ethics frameworks or philosophy classes to understand the practical need for people to have a moral framework. And Jonathan Haidt wrote about this in The Righteous Mind quite intelligently. I very much agree with the principles of his moral foundations theory, even though I think he takes it a little bit in weird places when it comes to conservatives versus liberals. I think his bias sort of starts showing up. But as social science, the moral foundations theory is a great theory. And we're not going to necessarily, I'm not going to do a whole seminar on that today. All I really want to say about morals is that it really comes down to what you think of as good and bad, right or wrong. What's good, what's bad. Everybody has different ideas about this based on their upbringing, their culture, their education, their religion, their ideology that they subscribe to. But actually, really, the religion and the ideology, it's sort of a little self-servicing thing. All of this is kind of wrapped up in this package that every one of us is carrying around with us in terms of our moral view or our own moral landscape or foundation. What we find acceptable, what we find unacceptable, what we would think of as illegal, what we think of as should be illegal, what we would chastise somebody for, what we would validate somebody for in terms of behavior.
Or punish someone for.
Or punish someone for, right? It's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. It's that simple. We don't have to get into deep philosophical conversations about morals to understand that basic principle. So, that being said, morals have everything to do with our behavior, with our choices, with how we go about living our life. Because we're not going to do things, or we're going to try to avoid at least, doing things that we think of as bad or wrong. Sometimes we slip, and context is everything. Please hear me on this. Oh, thank you, Dylan.
Oh.
Thank you very much for that super chat. We'll get there. The update is since you asked and gave me a super chat, Dylan, and thank you, Ava, for your super chat as well. The update on the tone scale videos, I'm working with somebody who's actually going to help me with some animations, which is cool. And I am reworking the script to shorten it down and tighten it up. That's where it's at right this second. The illness really kind of threw some monkeys in the wrench over the last couple weeks, but really looking forward to getting back onto that very shortly. Yeah, animations. So that's going to be fun. Okay, morals. So I was talking about morals, right? What's good, bad, right, or wrong? Context is everything when it comes to morals. Please hear me on this. There are endless numbers of debates, and I think they're very silly, about objective morality and some source of objective morality, God or the Bible or this or that, the law. No.
There's always gray area.
Well, there is, but more, there's no absolute rules anywhere in any culture, anywhere that work 100% of the time for every single context, all the way up to killing somebody. We're all okay with killing certain people under certain circumstances. Let's be real.
Yeah.
We all are. There's always a context for something where we can find a right in what would normally be a wrong, and where we can find a wrong in what would normally be a right. That's the truth. That's the way the life really is. Philosophers and religion aside, that's the real deal. So we all have our moral foundations, our basic ideas of what's right and wrong and good and bad. And with that, thank you, Angel Hugger. So with that approach, or with that understanding, if you know somebody's moral foundations, or they're willing to talk about it, or you're willing to, converse about it or whatever, you can understand a great deal about what motivates them. Because between their emotional needs and their right and wrong values, you're going to immediately map out their behavior. You're going to see it. It's going to be obvious. And the various contexts in which this happens. Some people would not ever, ever, ever consider lying to their spouse, but they'll lie to their boss.
Oh, sure.
They'll lie to their friends.
I was sick.
Yeah. Right. Exactly, right? Or they'll tell fibs, or they'll do this, or they'll do that. We've all got that. All of us do. There are lines in the sand that every one of us will draw, right? And nope, I am not going to do that. I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. Right? There's all kinds of ways of putting this, but we all have our lines in the sand in terms of what we think we would do or won't do, or what we do find acceptable or don't find acceptable. And so much of the conflict all over social media has to do with conflicting moral foundations. It doesn't really have to do with facts at all. Facts are just convenient placeholders for our morals. They're used to justify our moral perception of certain contexts and situations. And where I'm going with this is when you get to an extreme place like a cult, those moral foundations start getting really interesting because these are changeable. All of this is changeable, is modifiable through good and bad practices, right? Through manipulation, through influence, through education, through propaganda, and ultimately through even thought reform, or what we, brainwashing. You can change somebody's ideas radically in terms of what's right and wrong and good and bad. I used to think it was completely okay to abuse the hell out of kids, not physically beat on them, but keep them up late at night, labor traffic them, do things to little Sea Org cadets and kids. Because we're in the Sea Org, we're clearing the planet. It was justified, it was rationalized by the fact that we were on the crusade to clear the planet. And because we had that fact on our side and the morality of that's the righteous cause and there is no other cause that is more important than that, and it was incredibly emotionally satisfying to feel like I was one of the Jedi, to feel like I was Neo in the Matrix. I was one of the good guys. I was fighting on the side of righteousness. Oh, righteousness it's heady. It's very convincing. And I think it's the most powerful convincer because it's not just, doing bad, being a bad person and doing bad might be satisfying for a Ted Bundy, but there aren't lots of those. There's a lot more of us empathetic kind of people who can be twisted and corrupted to believe that abuse is beneficial and that hurting people is actually helping them. That's not that hard to do. We see it all over the world, right? Every single war has been about that. Wow, that's a really long name.
Yeah.
Wow. Just kind of glance over at the comments sometimes, right? Okay, so moral foundations are this very powerful, very important third dimension to this, okay? And I wanted to throw that out there as a kind of, here's some thinking I'm doing right now about this, that, what keeps people in cults? Their absolute certainty that they are on the side of right, that what they're doing is absolutely, positively the most beneficial, perfect, wonderful thing they could be doing. Now, not everybody is going to subscribe to that. We see other examples and other reasons why people stay in cults that are not necessarily as morally propelled. But that's where the emotional needs come in. Because I don't think there is a single exception to that rule. right? And I believe that moral foundations even factor into, other reasons why people would stay in other than wanting to, say, clear the planet in Scientology. For example, somebody might stay in Scientology or stay in the Sea Org because of the personal power and influence that it gives them over other people. Well, again, that's moral foundations for them as well as emotional needs. They're on the side of right. They're on the side of good. It's justified that they can own and control and even abuse other people at their whim because they're right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's all part of that package. Even if it's not necessarily a star-high goal of clearing the planet, it doesn't have to be in order for it to be morally justified or a moral principle. Especially if you're a second gen, where this is the only sort of moral view you've ever had your entire life. This isn't, the kind of stuff I'm talking about right now is not things that people necessarily in these headspaces sit around thinking about or talking about with each other even. I never had long conversations with other Sea Org members about moral foundations. But I definitely had conversations with other Sea Org members about how right we were and how wrong all the wogs were, right? You forgive my use of the term, but that's how we talked. And that's what we thought, is that, we would walk down the street. I remember conversations with other Scientologists where we would walk down the street looking at, Hollywood Boulevard, looking at a crowd of people and being absolutely sure. I mean, so conceitedly, arrogantly sure that we were the most uptone, aware, spiritually aware people within a 3-mile radius just because we were Scientologists. And that kind of thinking keeps you in that headspace, even if you're being abused, even if you're suffering. Because you're on the side of right. And who doesn't want to be on the side of right? We all figure out our lives so that we're the hero of the story.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean? It means we're right. We're the good guys. We're the men in white. We're in the white hats, or the women in white. And that's what we're doing. We're the superheroes of our lives. And that's how we get through life. That's the human existence. That none of this is pathological. This is all normal human stuff. So these are the things, these are the sort of 3 dimensions or the 3 sort of foundational points that I think we can look at as to what keeps people in, even despite all the abuses. Why would somebody stay? This is a question we get all the time, constant refrain. Why do people stay? What would keep them in? Because you're outside of it. And you're looking in and you're thinking, those guys are crazy. You're looking in a fishbowl and go, why are those fish attacking each other? Why do they do that? Why do they put up with that? Well, if you could look at it from their point of view, you could see that in their headspace, they're Neo. They're Luke Skywalker. They are Princess Leia. They are the heroes. They are the people who are saving everybody. Even though you hold them in contempt and think they're silly. Doesn't matter. I know better, And that's what keeps them in. It's not just about sunk cost fallacy. It's not about that at all. That is not anywhere near enough of a driver to keep somebody in a fully abusive situation. Well, I've been here this long. I might as well keep going. That's part of the picture for sure. But to say that's the whole picture, absolutely not. It just doesn't work out, So, okay. So that's, those are the things I wanted to talk about tonight. Wow. And we went for a while. Let's go ahead and open up the phone lines. There's no calls in the queue right now, but if y'all want to call in and talk to us, we will throw our headphones on now and be ready to take calls. So if you all have any questions about this or anything, go ahead and throw them in the comments section. But if you want to call in, 984-214-4154. Excuse me. Oh, Dylan, you're still with us. Awesome. Yes, thanks, guys. So those are some thoughts on this, and I I hope that, I'm not just kind of talking about this stuff from an ivory tower point of view. I'm hoping that by communicating these principles or by talking about this, I'll improve the depth of understanding of not just Scientologists, and everything I said here absolutely applies to every single Scientologist. No question about it. But it also applies to Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, the Om Shinrikyo guys even. Even those people who are still, to this day, the handful of people who are still loyal to Marshall Applewhite and the whole heavens, the comet bebop thing.
Wow, they're still, okay.
Why? Why would they do that? What would keep them there? Right? Moral foundations. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and pick up this since I know she's in screening right now, but this is Adria. Let's go ahead and pick this up. Adria, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Wow, that was speedy.
I just saw you in the queue there, and I thought, well, I'll pick her up. I know who she is. What's up?
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I want a little clarification, maybe push back a hair on this distinction between morals and emotional needs.
Sure.
Now, okay, so I understand that morals are highly context specific.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah.
And emotional needs are, a lot more broad. Everyone everywhere on the planet needs to meet emotional needs.
Yep.
Okay, so I have that down.
Uh-huh.
However, if you have a set of morals and you follow them, isn't that meeting an emotional need?
Oh, of course. Oh, absolutely. These are inextricably tied together. These are not fully separable things for us. One feeds the other.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just as rationality is not divorced from emotional needs.
Correct. Exactly. We use our rational mind to feed our emotional needs. We use our moral foundations to feed our emotional needs. In other words, it feels good to be good.
Yeah.
Right?
So I can totally get with that.
Yeah.
Now I have one other very related question.
Uh-huh.
And that is, do you think that emotional needs drive all the other things going on, or do you think that emotional needs can be subject to information we get or be influenced by the social mores of the situation? Like, can each thing be influenced the other, or are emotional needs, do you think, just that never can be influenced by anything else?
Oh, no. Emotional needs are absolutely influenced by the context of our lives, the situations we find ourselves in. The fact of needing to fulfill them, driving us forward in life, doesn't change. What fulfills us changes. Right?
Okay, I can definitely roll with that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, make it clear.
Oh, absolutely.
For myself, and hopefully it'll help other people too.
Great. Cool.
All right. Well, that's all I had to say. Please give Benson a tummy rub for me.
Definitely.
And I will. Thanks. And I'll keep watching the rest of the show. And hi, Mel.
Hello.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks
bye.
you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good. Queue is open. If anybody wants to call in, we got a couple more minutes in the show here. Otherwise, I think we might start moving toward wrapping up. I'll give us another minute on the queue. I know it was only open for a little window here this week. I kind of got on a roll. I really wanted to kind of break this down and explain it as thoroughly as I could. I've given you everything that's kind of been going through my head about this lately. I've been thinking about this hard the last couple of weeks while I was kind of laid up in bed. Okay, cool, Poe. No problem there. All right, so that all being said, let's go ahead and wrap up. So we've got our cards. Oh, yes, we do. let's go ahead and, I'm going to be on, by the way, guys, I don't know if you'll pick this up in the chat, but I'm going to be on Poe on the Go's show on Sunday. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. We have had a conversation introducing ourselves to each other, and that went really well. And in fact, informed a little bit of that monologue I did a couple weeks ago about when I kind of talked about spectrums and politics and stuff, and that whole cult of personality stuff. Some of that was informed by my conversation with him. So I'm looking forward to being on his show this week. Okay, let's go ahead and draw one of our many critical thinking cards. What does it say?
We've got the negativity bias. You allow negative things to disproportionately influence your thinking. The pain of loss and hurt are felt more keenly and persistently than the fleeting gratification of pleasant things. We are primed for survival, and our aversion to pain can distort our judgment for a modern world.
Wow.
I don't know anything about negativity bias. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I never let negative things influence my thinking disproportionately. That's why I'm still on Reddit. All right. Good, guys. So negativity bias this weekend. You are getting content. Oh, yes, you are. There's a 2-hour podcast dropping tomorrow. And this is about a woman named Liana Shanti. And I don't know if you've heard of her. She is an internet guru. She's one of many of these online cultic leaders that Casey from Cult Vault and I did a show. And it's airing tomorrow, so you guys will be the beneficiaries of that. I hope you will check it out. We go into some detail not only about this woman and her crazy websites and cultic behavior and nonsense that she gets up to, but we talk about online cults and this whole new model that's emerging in the modern era where people don't even have to contact one another or be in physical proximity to each other in order to fall into that codependent relationship of the cult leader, cult follower, and be taken advantage of to an enormous extent, disconnect from their families even. I mean, it gets really bad. You know, we see this with QAnon. That was just the beginning, right? We're going to have a lot of this, and we're going to have to deal with it. And so tomorrow's show is about that. And then Sunday will be a pre-recorded Q&A show. So you guys, I'll be shooting that tomorrow. All right, so that's our weekend content coming back. And, of course, watch for the Sunday show with Tony, or Monday's show. And this next week, by the way, guys, jury selection begins on the Danny Masterson trial. The retrial. So that's a little exciting, a little interesting, a little bit, oh my God, really hoping that this round sees a jury that understands cultic influence and coercive control a little bit better than that first jury did. Fingers crossed on all of that. All right, guys. So hopefully the show was entertaining, informative, and educational for you. Thank you very much for your support of the show and the channel. And with that, I will see you guys, well, hopefully tomorrow.
Good night.
Bye-bye.